Hey folks, Jonathan here. We're back to work on the four-wheel drive for my wife. What's the date today, Noah? Somewhere around the end of the month. 30th? So we're going to try to have this ready for the 15th, where she can at least drive it up to the cruise in. We'll see how that works out. Well, Noah's been working on this. We've got the transmission about ready to come out. And shifters out, cross members out. So we're going to get it out, sit down, and then we're going to start putting the 5-speed in. This was a 4-speed Muncie with a Rockwell transfer case, and we're going to a 5-speed with I don't remember what it is, 203 I think, or it might be a 207, I can't remember. But anyway, that's the one that we changed the input around on so we could put behind the 5-speed transmission. So we're going to get at it and get this out, and I'll show you more as we go. Okay, so we got the other transmission out, and we're going to try, since I'm feeling pretty good today, I don't have anything hurting yet. Usually, you know, you hurt somewhere about every day. You know, it's going to be somewhere, if it's not one thing, it's the other hurting. So I'm going to try to pick that up and put it in there like I used to. I don't know if I can or not. It used to be I could take a 350 turbo and put it up in. Now this is pretty high too, this truck. So we're going to take the shifter off first and put some tape over that. And the reason I'm going to put some tape over is because we may have to cut a hole in the floorboard, and I don't want to get anything in the transmission when we're cutting it. So, anyway, let's see what we can do. Alright folks, I'm already beginning to think this is not a good idea. It's a long ways up. I don't know. I just don't know if I got it in me anymore. I'll be honest with you. Sucks getting old. A lot of people tell me advice is not to get old, but I've tried. It hadn't worked. Alright. I think I'm going to lay down there and put this cardboard on my chest. I didn't used to do that, but I'm going to put the cardboard on my chest, try to get it up on the cardboard, and then see if I can get it up in there. I don't know. I might make myself look like a fool here. I want to go in. Alright, I'm not as young as I used to be. Okay, transmission's up in. Now we're going to try to do the transfer case. And see if I can get it up in there by myself. Did I tell you I was too old for this stuff? Okay, so here's where we're at. Transmission transfer case is in. Got to tighten everything up. Get all the bolts good and snugged up. And I should be able to start on the other stuff. But what we got to do. Luckily, if y'all remember, it's got the late 80s, early 90s slave cylinder and clutch master cylinder. And it actually had the long line that runs over to the opposite side of the bell housing. So I should get by with that fine. Luckily also someone put a new clutch first plate top bearing in this truck, and probably the only thing they've done right, but I was able to keep all that, and I actually used the throwout bearing that was already in this truck because the one that was in this transmission was a little bit noisy. A release bearing, I believe, depending on where you live, what everybody calls it. But anyway, so everything went in good. Transfer case went in good. Still got to make sure I've got the other starter, because this runs a different style starter. That had the cast iron bell housing, so it ran that 3-bolt starter, and I need the 2-bolt, so it goes up through the block. So we'll check that truck out that we pulled transmission out of. I hope I've got it. We've got to make a rear drive shaft and a front drive shaft. Now, from the looks of this, because this transmission transfer case is longer, everything's sitting back farther, we're going to have a lot longer front drive shaft, but it's actually going to cut down on our angle a lot, and I think it's going to help us out. So I think we can get by with that really nice. It's a pain because I already made the rear drive shaft for the other transmission. The front drive shaft was in it, but of course it won't work in this one. So, or with this transfer case, but you know, we've got enough parts we can get something together. I need to find the four-wheel drive shifter that goes in the floor right there, and that will actually be right for this transfer case, and so that will be nice if I can come up with one. And then I'm going to cut a hole in the floor just in front of that piece for the transmission shifter, and I was kind of wondering about that. You know, that other one, you can see the little square hole they cut out up there. That was what they had. It wasn't even really big enough. And then this was the hole that they had for the transfer case. So we'll have to patch them holes back up and cut the holes out like they should be, and we'll go from there. What else do we got to do? I think that's about it. Once we get that done, we can do the exhaust, redo the exhaust to get it right, and I'm going to tune this engine up. And I still got to do the valve cover gaskets, and I think that's about it. We're going to try to get it. I'm going to go through everything, make sure everything's good and you know, in drivable condition, and then hopefully my wife will be able to take it to that cruise in. So I'm going to see if I can get those tightened up, and we'll start scrounging for some more parts here. Oh, cross member. I'm not sure what I'm going to do on it yet. The original cross member had the different style mounts. You know, the one that was in this truck, and I think from looking at it, you know, it comes down a lot lower than this one. So I may try to get the cross member that was in this truck that this transmission come out of, and maybe remake it, see what we can do with it. So truck's a mess anyway. I mean, you know, I'm not regretting buying it because I knew what I was getting into, but you know, we put a front end in it, a rear end in it, transmission transfer case. Hopefully the engine's fine, and then of course we've had to fix a lot of the stuff on it that they had just mangled up and not done right, and which was just about everything they touched. So anyway, it should be a driver here shortly. Shouldn't take too long to get this together, and like I said, I've got what, 14 days, 13 days. We'll try to get this done. So I know she wants to drive it. I was going to take the 55. I don't know if I probably won't have time to get the rear end swapped in it and stuff, and we'll see how that goes though. I've already started on the rear for it, and I've actually started on a video for it. So anyway, I'll show you more. Okay, here is our old transmission. I actually put this on Facebook Marketplace the day I pulled it out, or that me and Noah pulled it out, and I had 3 people say they was coming the next day to get it, and nobody showed up, of course. But if anybody needs it's a Muncie 420 and a Rockwell case, let me know. Now this is jumping out, I can't remember now whether it was second or third, but it was jumping out of gear. The kits for them are cheap, and I would have redone that transmission except for the fact that that 5-speeder will be a lot easier for my wife to shift. You know, we're not off-roading it, so we didn't need a granny gear. These are tough transfer cases, so a lot of people want them for rock crawling. But here's our drive shafts, and I'll show you what I mean about this one being too short. That one is going to be too long, but U-joint size on one end is wrong. The yoke, of course, is right. The transfer case takes the same as the 400 turbo yoke instead of the smaller 350 turbo. But I'm going to have to change the end up here. And of course, the drive shaft that we've got is different, smaller. We can do some swapping around, but we'll get it. You know, we don't need a slip joint. Let me see. So I may have to make a bushing. I can see already that this one's got an old dent in it, so we don't want to use that. We can probably, if this is long enough, we'll cut it back where we already put it together once, as you can see, and we'll cut it and use this tube and this yoke, and we may have to turn the yoke down a little bit to get it to fit this shaft, but whatever we got to do, if that's long enough. But the front one, I'll show you how much too short it is. And I think that this joint on this end is probably wrong for the front end anyway. Okay, here's what we got. Of course, the joint don't fit. The other transfer case had a double joint and bolted on different. And of course, this one bolts on with the flange. And it looks like it's probably about 3 or 4 inches short. So what we need to do is find a drive shaft that has this U-joint that we can, that's longer than this, that we can go ahead and cut it here and add to it. So I think we can come up with that, but I can see already we're not going to have a bad angle whatsoever on this, so I really like that. And the back one, that's not going to be too bad either. But next we'll get the starter, clutch hooked up, all that good stuff, shifter hole. So I'm going to leave it at this for now, and but we're back on it. We'll see if we can get her knocked out real quick. Alright, show you more. Bye.